Moving on to the sample final, question number 8 asks us to use the probability distribution to find the mean, the variance, and the standard deviation. So my formula for finding the mean is I take each x value and multiply by the probability, then I add the answers together. So the first x value is 0, its probability is 0.05. I'm going to add to that 1 times 0.05 plus 2 times 0.2 plus 3 times 0.25 plus 4 times 0.15 plus 5 times 0.3. So I'm going to put all that into my calculator. When I do, 0 times 0.05 plus 1 times 0.05 plus 2 times 0.2 plus 3 times 0.25 plus 4 times 0.15 plus 5 times 0.3. All of that gets me to a total for the mean of 3.3. So my first answer for this question is mu equals 3.3. Again, that comes from each x value individually being multiplied by the probability. To now find the variance, I need to take the x value, subtract the mean that I just found, square the result, and multiply it by its probability. So the first x value is 0. I'm going to subtract the mean that I just found, 3.3. I'm going to square the result and multiply it by its probability, 0.05. I'm going to add to that 1 minus 3.3 squared times 0.05 plus 2 minus 3.3 squared times 0.2 plus 3 minus 3.3 squared times 0.25 plus 4 minus 3.3 squared times 0.15 plus 5 minus 3.3 squared times 0.3. So you want to be very careful with all your parentheses, with all your pluses, minuses. I would definitely try this 2 times in your calculator on the actual final to make sure you haven't made a keystroke error as you're going along. I'm putting it in, 0 minus 3.3, end parentheses squared, parentheses 0.05, end parentheses, plus parentheses 1 minus 3.3, end parentheses squared, parentheses 0.05, plus parentheses 2 minus 3.3, quantity squared, times parentheses 0.2, plus parentheses 3 minus 3.3, end parentheses quantity squared, parentheses 0.25, end parentheses, plus parentheses 4 minus 3.3, end parentheses squared, parentheses 0.15, end parentheses, plus parentheses 5 minus 3.3, end parentheses squared, times parentheses 0.3. When I do all of that and I press enter into my calculator, it gives me an answer of 2.11. I'd want to be careful and make sure I'm rounding to the right number of decimal places. If it gave me a number here it says to round to 2 decimal places. This is already to 2 decimal places, so I'm fine. To now get to sigma from sigma squared, this was the variance. To get back to the standard deviation, I need to take the square root of that 2.11. When I do that, the root of 2.11 gets me to 1.45258. Again, it tells me that all answers should be the 2 decimals for this one. So if I'm going to 2 decimal places, I'm going to this 45. 2 is the first number I drop. If that number is 4 or less, you just drop it. If that number is 5 or more, I would turn this 5 into a 6. It's 4 or less, so I drop it. So my final answer is 1.45. For number 9, it asks me to consider a binomial random variable with n equals 9 and p equals 0.7. I want to find the probability that x equals exactly 3. So this is going to require me to use the binomial formula. It always starts off with an NCR. Here, 9 is the n, so I write a 9 first, then I press the NCR key, and then I put in x, in this case 3. I'm going to multiply this by the probability of success, 0.7, to the power of the number of successes, 3. Then I'm going to multiply that by the probability of failure, 1 minus 0.7, the probability of success, to the power of the number of failures, which is n minus x, or in this case, 9 minus 3. If I put this all into my calculator properly, it should give me the probability of getting exactly 3 successes. So I press parentheses, 9. On my calculator, it's the math key. Move over to PRB. Choose NCR. 3, end parentheses, parentheses 0.7 to the power of 3, end parentheses, new parentheses, 1 minus 0.7, end parentheses, to the power of parentheses, 9 minus 3, end parentheses, over end parentheses. When I put all that in, I get 0.02100394. Again, I want to look back to what it asked me for the number of decimal places. It says to round my answer to 3 decimal places. 3 decimal places is here. The next digit's a 0, so I can just drop all this. So my final answer would be 0.021. For number 10, it tells me let x have a uniform distribution from 0 to 10. When I know I have a uniform distribution, I should start by drawing the box. In this case, the box starts at 0, goes to 10. They want me to find the probability that I'm between 3.8 and 8.2. So let's say 3.8 is about there. Let's say 8.2 is about there. And they want me to find the in between, which is this shaded region. Whenever I try and find the probability, the top of my fraction is end of shaded region, 8.2, minus start of shaded region, 3.8, divided by end of box, 10, minus start of box, 0. If I put this into my calculator, parentheses, 8.2 minus 3.8, end parentheses, divided by parentheses, 10 minus 0, end parentheses, gives me an answer of 0.44. Again, I want to check how many digits to round to. It says 2 decimals, so that 0.44 is fine. That is the correct answer for the uniform distribution.